Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Couch Coaches. Myself, Coach Bully, and this guy, Coach Gully.
Coach Gully.
And we're going to give you lots of information that'll make you feel fully. No, maybe not. Maybe a little cheesy. But we are going to be the armchair
Definitely
experts
cheesy.
that everyone else wants to be back at home. And speaking of armchair experts, you guys can come up with a motto for us because we need something to give us a motto. Maybe two dumb idiots. We don't know. Just give us something. What we do is we talk a little bit about sports, have a little fun, maybe play a little game or two of trivia, and just shoot the shit. So starting right off of the bat, we're Minnesota guys, so we got to bring up the Timberwolves. And I know we had a heartbreaker, Gully. And the previous episode that unfortunately we weren't able to post due to some technical difficulties, I went the opposite way and said Minnesota was going to go 4-1. If they happened to lose game one, I think they were going to win 4-2. Well, that didn't go as planned. Right. Dallas kicked the shit out of us. And and that's the end of the Timberwolves season. Great season for the Timberwolves. I mean, you made it to the Western Conference Finals. You're the final three teams left. Successful season. Disappointing because Minnesota still has yet to see even a championship game in 30 years.
Yeah, in their existence, yep.
So you tell us what went wrong with Minnesota or what went well for Dallas that really changed the whole series. Because going into the series, I really thought Minnesota had the upper hand in the inside game. Ant was coming off great performances. The defense was starting to sure things up. What broke down?
Well, I don't know if anything really broke down majorly in the first couple games, right? First couple games, they were nail biters. I think a call here or there, a bucket here or there, and we could have won those first two games, I think. But I think that we really didn't have an answer for Luka and or Kyrie.
Definitely not. And I didn't mind trying to put McDaniels out there for a little bit. I didn't mind putting Ant out there for a little bit. But the repercussions of that was Luka's playing McDaniels on defense, and we're not using McDaniels at all to be aggressive. So Luka's just floating out there. He's away from playing defense, which is exactly what he wants to do. He's not going to be in foul trouble. That was one thing. Kyrie showed his true talent back to almost like in his prime days. His shot-making abilities, just almost flawless the way that he played. I mean, hats off to him as well. The last 5 minutes of the game, of each game until the final one, I think we held a lead. And so you think it was at game 2 that Minnesota had an 18-point lead in the second half, where it's almost like a deja vu of Minnesota down against Denver. And I think Minnesota wins that game. They might win game 2. I think that was the series changer, losing that momentum at home, where they haven't even been that great anyway, and missed out on a closeout opportunity in game 3. And that just changed. And, the whole aspect was, can Minnesota do it? They haven't done this. I said, well, you know what? When you're playing that close of games, every single game, and you have to win 4 straight, it almost feels like you've already won 2. Right. Even though in the W column it has 0. Now you almost seems like out of a 7-game series, you have to beat them 6 times, more or less. I mean, with that kind of a weird theory, I know. But that was... It was a struggle to watch, man.
And then, to be honest with you, when we finally did break the ice and get our first win in the series, I really thought that we were going to win the next one. And then that would have put a little bit more pressure on the Mavs.
Yep.
And maybe allow us to... I don't know if it's get in their head is the right term, but maybe to put enough pressure that maybe they start making some mistakes.
Yeah,
that
a little
we could
scary
capitalize,
to them, right?
But Yeah, no, we came out so flat in the last game that yeah, it was.
They say what was it before that game? The 3-0 series team was up 155-0, I believe it was. But what are the stats on that as far as like um, being the home team down 3-0? How many times does that happen? How many times is it a 1 seed versus an 8 seed where it's just an ass whooping, right? Like when is
Yeah.
it relevant to be a true 3-0 series? We have a chance. How many are the, does it come down to like 12 opportunities where it was a mismatch, or the higher seed came back and had a game 7 at home, or
So sorry, you're
you
saying like how many times in history has a team been down 0-3 and actually had a legit chance to come back, or
yeah, sort of. I mean, like if you're the 8th seed playing the 1 seed in the first round and you're down 0-3, I mean, that's probably not going to bode well. But if you're the higher seed down 3-0, is that more likely to make it a series, or is that still just going to be right underneath the 3-0 category? I mean, you feel like there's just a little bit of variance in that.
sure.
How many teams have been in the Wolves position, in the Western Conference Finals with the home court advantage, and then they're down 3-0. How many times has that happened? It might not be a lot. Maybe it's more than I think, but I digress. Now, we saw Cat shoot bricks. He seemed
Hmm.
like a
Yes.
carpenter putting up some brick houses.
Yep.
Um, are they going to keep him? Are they going to run it back? Are we going to trade him? There's a lot that's going through the grapevine right now.
That's a great question. I don't know, um, but I think in general. So me as a Timberwolves fan, always had a little bit of a problem with Ant, or not Ant, sorry, with Cat, with how he. There's many a times where he brings the ball up the court. We don't even have our offense set, and he's jacking up a three to try to make something happen, and it's just a clank, and they get the opposing team gets a rebound and brings it right back. You know, don't get me wrong. He's a good player. I just don't know. I mean, he's got the knock on him in the NBA is he's a little soft, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Very.
so
I I'm kind of one of those where, I mean, yes, he had a great season for us. Probably one of his best ones yet. Knowing that he
right.
wasn't the number one role guy anymore, and when we got Rudy Gobert, I was telling people even before that we need a true center because this guy wants to play like Dirk Nowitzki out there. He doesn't want to play down low and be physical. So
Mm-hmm.
he's not
Right.
he's not a true big man. It's like he's got a guard in his veins, and which is fine, but you also were drafted first overall because you were a great center in college. He wasn't jacking up shots a lot, back in college. It's like he kind of developed that through the NBA, which is okay because you have to have a lot of dynamics.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, I kind of wish that Flip would have, you know, uh, not passed away when he did, because I think that also could have really set him up as maybe a little bit higher trajectory in the course of, his skill set and his overall um,
Development.
gameplay, yeah, and talent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I brought this up. I don't know if it was to you, offline, or maybe to some other clowns around town. An idea of Cat for KD. Straight up, I would say yes. Obviously, I don't think it would work straight up. The salaries do match up, however, but the Phoenix is probably going to want something a little bit more than just him.
Well, you think
Um,
so? Because there is quite a bit of an age difference.
There is, but I think with how the Timberwolves are developed right now, Conley's getting old. If he's got any years left, he wants to try to win something fast.
Yep.
Ant's got time. Gobert is going to be on the downslide if he, very soon, if he's not already starting to. I know playoffs was a completely different scenario than the regular season, but, still, I think he deserves a lot more credit than he's been getting from some of
For
these
sure.
Draymond Greens out in the world. But if you want to try to win now and you can still develop Ant and KD have a lot of respect for each other, why not try to run it that way once? And
Hmm.
if it doesn't work next year without KD and you still have Cat, you're going to have to regress at some point and kind of rebuild. And you're probably going to be
Yeah.
rebuilding around Jaden McDaniels and Ant. So the other guys are going to be gone anyway. So why not try for KD? The other option that was floating around, and again, I don't think it's going to be an even trade, but however, something might work out. Trae Young for Cat. Bring in a point guard, let Conley come off the bench and
Hmm.
get quality minutes instead of trying to play longer than he's able to now, and give him a dual backcourt. Now that we saw how great a dual backcourt can be, and we still have Naz Reid, we still have Gobert, we still have McDaniels,
Right.
and hopefully we don't have slow mo. Um, so those are my two options. I mean, if it's a straight up, I would say take either one. I don't think it would be, and I know we're still hurting on first round draft picks. So,
Hmm.
and this draft is not very good.
Yeah. I was just reading something today that the Timberwolves invited a number of players in before, obviously, to take a look at them skill wise.
Mm.
I wish I could find that article quick.
Well, while you do that, I'm gonna bring up something here about cap hits. Next year's cap hit cat is 49. I'm just gonna round up.
Yikes.
Gobert 43, almost 44 actually. Anthony Edwards 42, Jaden McDaniels 23, Naz Reid 14, Conley 10. So they got a lot to pay. And I don't think that if you trade one of those guys and get a draft pick, which this draft sucks, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what next year's going to be. Maybe there are some great players out there, and yes, there will be you know some pros that come out of this, but you still need to be aggressive now, then just get draft picks back. We don't
Right.
need that many draft picks. We got Anthony Edwards. You get draft picks to get a franchise guy. You don't get um you don't get draft picks just to make the trade even, right?
Yeah.
We got some guys. So I think they still need to stay competitive.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
so here is your if you want to go ahead with your note
Yeah.
there.
So Timberwolves tweeted out today that they uh, have the following prospects in for workouts: Cy Chapman from Buffalo, Enrique Freeman from Akron, Pele Larson from Arizona, KJ Simpson from Colorado, Justin Weber from UNLV, and Moses Wood from Washington. Now, do any of those stand out to you?
I wish I've heard of any of them.
I was going to say the same thing myself.
um, I mean, I think Arizona got kind of kicked out early in the tournament. Otherwise, we probably would have heard more from Larson. But outside of that, well, I mean, we are drafting at what 27 or 28 or something
Good,
way
yeah,
late. I
something like
think
that.
because
Yeah,
this is a draft year for us, and then next year we don't have one. So they obviously they aren't going to be inviting any of the top 10 picks because they don't have any collateral to trade up for something like that. Um, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit to talking about Derek Lively, who was a first round pick last year for Dallas, who Dallas quote unquote tanked to go get, using other terms without saying it publicly, which I don't really agree with, but the player still has to come out and play. Who I thought he did a very good job, and I think he's actually going to be one of the very big X factors in the finals against Boston. You're going to have Kyrie, you're going to have Luka out there. They're all going to do their stuff. Boston's got well rested guys. Um, Tatum and Brown are still going to put up some good games. It's going to be a fun thing to watch, but I think it's going to come down to uh, When it come down to Lively and what's his name? Gaffert? Gaffert? The other big man that Dallas had. I thought he played pretty good too. So it's a revenge game for Kyrie. However, no one talks about the revenge game for Porzingis playing Dallas. So
that's right. He did play there, didn't he?
It's all a story. I'm sure every game is a revenge game for somebody at some point in time in their life.
Right.
Almost like a Ryan Fitzpatrick all over again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, as far as the matchup goes for the finals, I think Celtics, I think, have the edge. I think they just have overall better talent, and I think they play at a better, little bit more of a run and gun pace than probably what Dallas can keep up with. But
yeah, I do agree with you. I think it'll be more. I would say coming from Minnesota fans, more evenly called because it seemed like every time Luka got the ball, he's just pushing off or using his shoulder, where he probably would have had 10 fouls a game, but he's Luka, so he doesn't get those calls. I think it's going to be a little bit more evenly spread because of all of the stars in this game that tally up, and I think Boston does match up with them pretty well. I will say, oh man, Boston in 5.
in 5, huh?
Which means it's
Yeah,
probably the Mavericks in 5.
I'd probably go with Boston in 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think Dallas can squeak out 2.
And so games start this Thursday, I believe. And I don't know if it's every other day thereafter or how many days of rest they get. It's probably going to go until August, the way that these NBA playoffs get stretched out.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, I think it'll be interesting to watch. I'm less interested because my team's not in it, but I'm sure I will follow along just fine, being a basketball nerd that I am.
Yeah.
We are going to switch gears a little bit here from basketball to football. And before we get into any football talks,
stop you. Do a quick second.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah,
you were absolutely right for Timberwolves picking 27th overall.
So, it is 27?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can find a diamond in the rough there. I don't know what's our biggest need, point guard by far, but I don't know. That's why I kind of think maybe go after like Trae Young and get a very young backcourt. And that way, even if you get rid of Rudy Gobert, you still have Naz Reid to play underneath or play as a wing. Because it seems like the big man idea worked. It really did. It worked. I mean, it got us this far.
I agree.
But the style of the game still is, run and gun, shoot from outside, and be more agile underneath. So if we can get some young guys that are agile underneath, we'll be faster, right? Speed kills.
Yep.
So
I'd agree.
Anyway, before you fucking interrupted me, I'm just kidding. So we're gonna head into football here, guys. We're big football and basketball guys here. Bob likes baseball. I don't mind it. I'm a fair weather fan. And then hockey, you just float around with. So before we get into one of the big topics of the week, I am going to give you this, and I'm going to mark this down, and then we'll display this on the screen for all the viewers to see. This is a blind rank. Have you ever done a blind rank?
Me, no.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 people, but before I move on to the next guy, you have to place them in spots 1 through 5. Okay, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst, and I'm going to give you 5 quarterbacks for the first one here.
Okay.
And you just tell me where you think, and you don't know who's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to rank them how you think. And the first quarterback I'm going to put out there is Derek Carr. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. There's no category on this. It's just 5 people I'm throwing out there.
Well, I feel like this is a trap. So I'm going to go 4.
4? Okay.
Yeah.
The next quarterback is Kirk Cousins.
since I don't know who you're going with here,
Yeah. Yep.
uh, I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room. Uh, but I'm going to put him probably higher than most people would think. And not because I'm a Minnesota fan, but just because I
Okay.
really think he has a lot of talent. Uh, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll go with
Okay.
number two.
Number 2. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Your next quarterback on this list is Russell Wilson.
And now, when we're ranking them, we're talking about as far as
Just
their
these
career or for
how
this upcoming year, or what are we
kind of
talking?
however you feel, your ranking system. If you want to go with put a theme to it, all-time passing yards, if you just think current
Um,
talent, how they might perform this year. However you want to do it.
okay,
You make
all right.
your list. You make the list.
Just
I
because I
usually just
don't.
kind of go overall. That's how I do it. But
All right. Um, okay, just so we this would be the third one.
yep,
So there's two left, right, to be
yep,
called out.
yep.
Now this is going to be goofy because I would like to re-rank them, but
Yeah, no, that's
I
fine.
would probably
Sure.
I'd probably go with the open spot that I have. I'd go with number three for Russ, but
Okay.
I'd probably flip flop him and Cousins because Russ has won a Super Bowl and almost won a second one.
Okay. All right.
Right.
We'll leave him as is, and if you wanted to change him afterwards, you can. Your fourth quarterback on this list is Deshaun Watson.
Boy, talk about a guy who could be up there. I'm gonna have.
Potential for sure.
I'm gonna take. He's gonna take my fifth spot.
Okay. So your number one quarterback on this list is Anthony Richardson.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay. So if you were to do it all over, knowing all 5 people, what would be your ranking?
um, I think I would actually go Russell Wilson number one. Keep Cousins at two. I think I would keep Anthony Richardson at three, or I'd put Anthony
Put
Richardson
him at
at
3.
three.
Okay.
Um, and then the last two is kind of a toss up. I think Carr would be five. I think, um,
Watson at 4.
yeah. And the only reason why I move Watson up is because I think Watson still has a chance to regain uh, essentially the playmaking ability that he had when he was in Houston.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And Cleveland is kind of doing some things over there. So he did have that injury, but he did look a little bit closer to what he was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to see him get back into form here. Okay. Um, got another blind rank for you. One more, and then we'll get into our topic.
All right.
Now that you know how the game goes, these are going to be newly acquired running backs. Okay.
Okay.
And the first one, I'm just going to go down the line how I have them written out. That way, no confusion whatsoever. Josh Jacobs with Green Bay.
And so 1 through 5, right?
1 through 5.
I'm gonna call him a three.
Okay. Derrick Henry with Baltimore.
I'm calling that one.
1. King Henry. Joe Mixon with Houston.
Boy, um, I'd like to put him in that number two spot.
It's going to be a fun team to watch.
I think
sure.
I will. I think I'll put him in number two.
He's got 1, 2, and 3 taken up. 4 and 5 belong to Tony Pollard with Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a 5 for me.
And Aaron Jones, Minnesota, is a 4.
Yep.
Okay.
Although I'm kind of surprised he didn't go with Um, I'm trying to blank. Signed with Washington, played in
Oh,
L.A.
Eckler.
Yeah, Austin Eckler. Yep.
I went with my first five guys that came to mind.
Okay.
I probably
Okay.
could have thrown in like DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to the Bears
Bears.
now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Bears.
could
Yep.
have thrown something like that in there too. But yeah, no, I actually don't mind your list at all. I think how it written up is almost perfect. Maybe depending on who you are, switch Jacobs and Mixon 2 and 3. But other than that, I think it's pretty. And Pollard
Yeah.
has an opportunity too, but I I don't mind that whatsoever.
Yeah. So I like Jacobs, but I like Mixon as well. But I think Mixon overall catches the ball better out of the backfield. I think he's probably a bit more of a complete running back.
Sure.
Although you can't really fault Jacobs. I mean, he is a former Russian
He's
champ, right? Didn't
yeah,
he?
he's pretty good. Now the only difference I guess is the offenses. I mean, Houston's got now they got Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, and Joe Mixon
Yeah.
with CJ Stroud. So they got a lot of options there. So productivity might be low, but that doesn't mean that he isn't great just because they have so many options to spread it
Right.
around to evenly if they choose to. Meanwhile, in Green Bay, they still got wide receivers that, Dobbs, Watson, Jordan Reed. I don't know who their tight end is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so they might be more West Coast offense, possibly. We don't know, depending on how Jordan Love comes around this year.
Sure. Well,
Um,
I
yeah,
actually I really like Green Bay's offense. Actually, I think Watson's an up and comer wide receiver.
I was
Um,
really just surprised to see the progression of Jordan Love this year because the first 7 games he just sucked, and it was as Vikings fans are
yeah.
like, finally, they have to deal with what it's like to not have a quarterback, and then he
Exactly.
does well in the second half of the season and wins some playoff games, and it was, I mean, kudos to him,
Yeah.
you know, and hopefully we get a quarterback that works out in our tenure and maybe for 10 years. But he's got a new guy to throw the ball to. Well, not a new guy, but he's going to be back for a few years. Justin Jefferson signed a 4-year, $140 million contract, 110
Yes.
guaranteed, with some cap hits over 40 near
Mm-hmm.
the end of his contract. One, just what's your feelings on that? Did you get a warm and cozy inside? Were you happy to see this deal done? Did you want to see more years? Did you want him to take a pay cut? Was he worth the money? Give me your initial feelings.
Well, I I agree that he's probably the best wide receiver, in the game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think it's tight. I mean,
Yeah,
I think there's a number of players that rank right with him.
yeah,
But that kind of money that can kind of stifle a team, right? I mean,
yeah,
the benefit that the Vikings have is that they don't have a Kirk Cousins that they've had to pay 30 or 40 million dollars a year or 50 million dollars a year to play the position. So that gives us a little bit more leeway since we have Darnold, at $10 million this year,
yeah. It's a 1 year,
and then
10
you got
mil. He could be back. He could be back for something similar. And
yeah,
McCarthy, I don't know what his contract is as a rookie. I'm sure it's under 10, maybe it's 8 a
yeah,
year. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
It's not a lot. It's not a lot. And then that
exactly.
gives us the
So
flexibility in order to do so.
right, so I mean, in that regard, it's not going to be so bad. But you get you know your third year there, and let's say McCarthy takes off, and so we're gonna if McCarthy's in his third year, we're gonna probably have to do a preemptive deal, right? We don't want to. You never want to get into that last year of a rookie contract without talks or anything going. Otherwise,
Right.
you run into issues where you know people can not feel appreciated, say things, get, kind of shuffled out the door. Where
Yeah.
for a certain extent, I kind of thought that's what was going to happen with JJ. Is JJ, he didn't say that well, he said it wasn't necessarily all about the money,
Yeah, I ain't too
but then
fond
it,
of money. That's what his quote was
yeah,
a couple of years ago, I think.
yeah, but
I guess he
yeah,
is.
I think just like
Now,
everybody else,
yeah.
he's fine with it.
I mean, if
Yep.
somebody offers me that, it's not like I'm turning it down, but he also didn't really like the idea of, well, okay, let me backtrack that for a second. Was reports came out earlier today that before the 2023 season started, he was very, very close to signing a $28 million per year contract. Whether it was 4 or 5 years, I can't remember,
Hmm.
but he backed out of it. And I don't know if his agent maybe talked to him and says you're gonna get your value's gonna spike after this, and that's why they couldn't get the deal done. I don't know if the Kirk Cousins thing had anything to do with it, that they didn't re-sign him so he could get more money, or maybe they wanted him to re-sign so he felt
I
secure getting passes caught to thrown to him. I mean, it
Yeah.
could be a flag to it.
Well, yeah. Obviously, that's what I mean. That's exactly what agents are for,
Yeah.
right? Is they're trying to make the best decisions for their clients, and I mean it's in their best interest as well, right?
Well, yeah, they get commission off of that, right?
Yep. So I think after Kirk left, that gave them all the leverage, right? Because we don't necessarily have a face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
They're hoping
Yep.
JJ McCarthy will be that guy, but at the end of the day, we really don't have you know a superstar face of the franchise.
Well, and on
And
top of that, though, Amon St. Brown scored $120 million, 30 a year. AJ Brown scored 32 a year at 96 million. And
mhm.
so I think those leading up to Jefferson kind of really put him where he's at. Now there's guys, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, even Tyreek Hill has been talking about he wants a new contract, which I also
Yep.
thought that he was talking about retiring when he gets like 30 or 31 years old. Um, but I guess if you can get 30 something $1 million a year, why not throw another year playing? Is anybody getting get paid more than Jefferson out of these kind of remaining folk?
Well,
Is is it going to be Jamar Chase? Is CeeDee Lamb going to do it? Is anybody? Or are they gonna fall just shy of the Jefferson?
that's a good question. I think in all reality, Jamar Chase is going to want that kind of money. Will Cincy do it? I, they don't have really a big strong history of paying people really well.
Right.
You know what
Except
I
except
mean?
Burrow recently, yeah. But
True,
but
very true.
yes, they're the overall of the franchise. It's trying to get the Minnesota Twins to pay somebody once, and it's
Yes.
impossible. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
So, and then C.D. Lamb obviously playing with Dallas, and Jerry Jones isn't afraid to spend money. But I think at the end of the day, I think they're going to be kind of cap strapped. But yeah, I would say if I had to guess right now, I'd say C.D. Lamb, it might come in a little bit higher than Jamar as far as dollar amount. Now Tyreek, that's a different story. Uh,
'Cause he's already on an average of I think $30 million. But if I'm not, someone can correct me too. His last it's an average of 30 because his last season I believe is set for 40 or
okay,
40 million. Maybe it's a 40 cap hit or 40, but I think they backloaded it, hoping that they can restructure and do an extension, so that way you're not really paying that, or you can, if it's a 90 guaranteed, then you can just cut it off or something like that.
yeah,
Um, I do see CeeDee Lamb getting paid more than Justin Jefferson because it's Dallas. Dallas just has money to float. Even though I know you have to stay under the salary cap. I get it, guys. But, you
Right?
know, I don't know if Dak's coming back next year.
Yeah, after this season.
Yeah. So, yeah, after this season. Right, right. So I think they're going to have a lot more money available, but I don't know who they're going to put at QB. Maybe they catch up with that Sam Darnold for a year, a bridge quarterback, sign a guy next year.
Right.
Maybe they're looking at Archie Manning or something to take the helm. So I do see CD Lamb even topping Justin Jefferson's contract, even though you might have had it for a week, because it seems like that's what happens. I can also see Jamar Chase because he's right up there neck and neck. Not that CD Lamb isn't, but going to the same school. Like there's just so many similarities, whether that even plays into effect or not, right? But
Right.
they all could get 35 a year. They really can. Yeah, Tyreek, and not that he doesn't deserve it either. I'm that one kind of shocked me a little bit because he had an interview with Shannon Sharp and he said he was going to retire at age of 30 and just be done, whether he had more football in him or not. Well, I don't know if money talks. What do you see on your end?
Yeah, I think he's going to keep playing. I mean, I find it hard to believe that he's going to shut it down. Um, I mean, he's still probably the fastest guy in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't foresee him wanting to shut it down. Especially if Tua continues to play at the high level that he played at last year, or
hmm
even the year before. He showed flashes, but had a lot of concussion issues, right?
yeah.
So I think as long as Tua is able to play at the level that he played at last year, I think he's going to try to ride that out as long as he can.
Will So we did see Christian McCaffrey get a nice payday today as well. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
average of 19 a year for 2 years extension.
Yep.
Who is one of the few that is still getting top dollar and deservedly so. Now we did see the running back market decline over the last couple of years. And I don't know if it's on the rise or if it's just that McCaffrey adds to that side to change the average. But is that going to happen with the NFL? I just personally believe, in maybe 4 or 5 years, the wide receiver market is going to do the same thing in the NFL, where instead of paying one guy 35, $40 million, you can just get three great guys at 10 or 15, and you'll see these guys get more competitive. Teams will understand that, and it's going to get reset. And maybe they just start pushing money back toward the running backs, and you see it in every aspect, clothing and everything. Cycles always come back around. So that's my kind of prediction, I guess, if you want to call it a prediction. But I see the wide receiver market getting reset in like 5 years, and that's why I'm kind of happy that Jefferson's was only like a 4-year contract.
Sure. So here's kind of one of my analogies I would say to that. It's kind of like when Steph Curry came into the league, and uh, there was virtually nobody like him as far as his capabilities to shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
Right
Yep.
now, when you look at the NBA, there are so many really good 3 point shooters. Right
Yeah.
now, not saying that there hasn't been historically great wide receivers, but because of I think the tos and the Jerry Rices, as they came up, and now it's been a completely passing game. I think there's so many more talented wide receivers that are coming into the league that I think it's going to kind of water down, right, the
Saturate the
talent
market.
pool. And
Yep.
so then I think it will probably dip because similar to like running backs, I think the NFL is going to the general managers are going to realize that, hey, we don't have to be you know totally salary cap strapped from this one guy. We can take and trade away, get whatever kind of draft picks we can get, make some room for ourselves, and go and get some needs, including an up and coming wide receiver.
I mean, I think the only thing that would really change that is if the salary cap, the team salary cap, continues to rise. I don't know what it's at right now. I'm just gonna guess like $250 million for a team. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if
don't know it off
it's
the top of my
higher or
head
lower.
either.
Um, but if it gets to 3 and then 350, then yeah, I think everyone's still going to be able to pay these guys. But eventually, somewhere along the lines, you're not going to be able to pay a quarterback $80 million. And that's kind of where we're headed to.
Right?
And I don't.
Well, yeah.
I mean, think about these
The,
other
the,
guys at other positions that are like, oh my gosh, you kidding me? I'm getting $2 million now. Yeah, we're saying that like, yeah, give me $2 million, but for what they're doing, just as much hard work,
yep.
and you're seeing another guy get $50 million a year. I get it. I get it.
Well, I mean, quarterbacks,
They're different.
uh, yeah, they're
It's
completely
different.
different. I mean, they're like the general on the field,
Yep.
right? They're basically running everything. They got to make decisions at a split second, and then when they make that decision, they also have to, that ball has to come out so fast, and that has to be on target because the defenses are, don't give you much of a hole to hit your passes,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I mean, I can see. Well, not only that, but if they
Well,
have a crappy offensive line, they're also taking a beating.
yeah.
So I mean, it's
Well, and you're seeing a rise in safeties. You're seeing Nick Bosa. Is it Nick Bosa? San Francisco guy. Nick Bosa,
yeah,
right? I always get the
yep,
Bosas mixed up. Yeah, he's getting, I think, like 34 or 35 a year.
mm-hmm,
34, I think, right? I
yep,
mean, like, that's insane for a lineman, but he makes he's a difference maker,
right,
So
yeah, kind of like
San Francisco is
JJ and
going
TJ
to,
Watt,
right? Like, San Francisco is going to have some choices to make when it comes time to pay Brock Purdy. And since we're just gonna talk about it. Do you resign? How much do you pay Brock Purdy if you're San Francisco? Or how do you rid the money so that you can pay him? Or do you just move on? Do you just say like, hey, we have a solid team and any quarterback can do this?
great question. I think obviously I think Purdy's better than what he was drafted at, right?
Yeah.
Um, but could he be a star quarterback on a team that doesn't have all the talent that San Fran has?
Right.
That's a little bit remains to be seen. And so I don't. If I was San Francisco, I may not. And I don't. You wouldn't want to necessarily disrespect him, right? But
Right. I mean,
at
he
the
gave you
same
a
time, you
lot and
also,
he's making $1 million a year.
yeah, you gotta,
So
you know,
he's earned some flowers.
yeah, yeah. So, but is he going to be a $30 million a year quarterback? Hmm. I maybe
Do
that's
you,
kind of the threshold
or
because
do you just give him like a 1 year extension just to say thanks for your service and if you continue it maybe we'll give you more?
that's a possibility, almost like a franchise tag type of deal.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they might choose to do just to make sure he gets paid, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then let him test the market. I mean, if he goes to Denver, I'm sorry, man, but you're not a top 15 quarterback. You're playing on the
yeah.
Broncos. You are not a top 15 quarterback. You might not even be a top 20.
Right, right.
Um, Now San Francisco, and there's always been trade talks about trading Brandon Ayuk. Debo,
Yeah. Well,
seems
he's in a contract
uncomfortable.
dispute.
So they
I
might not even
personally,
have options for Purdy. And then when he's gone, we'll get to see the real Purdy anyway.
uh, I personally, I think Ayuk is a good talent, but um, I don't think he's on par with hell, even the other wide receiver across from him.
Debo,
Yeah, Debo Samuel. I mean,
Debo and Ayuk.
I think Debo's a special player. Ayuk is maybe
And they just signed
It's maybe a better pure Jawan.
Juwan Jennings.
Yep. They just signed him to a 2-year deal, like 2-year, 15 million.
Yeah, I'm surprised. And I know Buffalo's picked up a couple of guys, Curtis Samuel and I think Marcus Van Scantling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they don't go after a T. Higgins, that they don't go after Brandon Ayuk, or if not both, even though they both want big money. I get it. But
Yeah,
why they
I
didn't
would
go
rather
after
pay T.
one of
Higgins
those?
than Ayuk, but
Yeah, and I think with going back to the whole Jamar Chase thing, that's probably one reason that they might wait on Jamar Chase instead of like, well, we're going to pay Jamar and dangle this in front of you, T. Higgins, but sorry, buddy. I think that's
right.
kind of a dick move. So I'm surprised that they haven't tried to do something about trading him. I would be very surprised if they do get a re-sign because T. Higgins is on the franchise, right?
Um,
Think T. Higgins is on
I
the
think so,
franchise.
but I don't know if he's
So
signed it yet. Has he?
I'm not sure. I don't know how all that works. Now there's like different levels of franchise tags. Like I don't even know, man. It's getting nuts. I don't even know what holding is anymore.
What sport are we talking about?
Right. So, um, yeah, I guess if I had my options and not looking at any of the numbers right now for San Francisco, I would say Brock, here's some money, maybe a franchise tag. Thanks for your service. Here's 35-40 million dollars. If you do well next year, maybe we'll work towards a long-term contract. But now you know that we don't have Ayuk or Debo, so this is kind of a prove-it year before we really know what we're paying.
Yep.
And I think that would be the best way. He just doesn't give me Josh Allen, doesn't give me Lamar Jackson, doesn't give me Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't give me CJ Stroud vibes. He doesn't give me any of that. You know, he doesn't even give me Goff vibes. Actually, so I don't know. I would like to see a little bit more out of him. And all these naysayers out there, yeah, I get it. I think he's elite, but we saw what happens when you take away one or two of his guys, and you're
Right.
not you're not elite. Good quarterbacks make players better, not wide receivers make a quarterback good.
Yep. I would agree there.
Do you have anything else to wrap up for our little fans? Otherwise, I got a little um, small thing that we can do with them.
Sure. Let's go ahead.
Well, being that it's our we like sports and I like movies, I figured 1+1 is 2. So let's put sports and movies together, and you know what you get, Bob? Sports movies.
Is that what that is?
So, no blind rank. Just kind of give me your and if you wanted to do them in order, you can. I'm gonna do mine out of order. Actually, let's go out of order because I don't even know what my ranks are. I really don't. I'm just going with my top 5 sports movies, in my opinion, that I like to watch. Not necessarily the best. Um, one of mine is going to be The Sandlot.
Very good movie. Yep. Um, what about Moneyball?
Moneyball. I have Moneyball in there as well.
Yeah, it's a good
I have
movie.
Moneyball in there. I also have Remember the Titans. I don't know how anyone might not be able to put that in their list,
Yeah.
but it's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
And especially if anyone has dealt with anything of high school sports, you understand that bond, the connection, the emotions that
Yep.
really go on in that. It really hits
In the
home a
locker
lot in
room.
many
Yep.
aspects. Many aspects. Yep.
Yep.
We used to play in our high school basketball. We used to play "I'm Sorry, Miss Jackson" by Outkast. That was
Yep.
our I feel right.
Yep.
That was our sign. That was what we did. That was our Miss Jackson was our jam.
Nice. What about Major League?
Major League is good. I don't have it in my top 5. It's actually been a while since
Yeah, it's been a while for me
I've
as
watched it. But what's his name? Vaughn. Is it Rick Vaughn? Ricky
well. See,
Vaughn?
you're I knew you were going to do that to me. 'Cause
Charlie Sheen's character, right? The wild thing.
yeah.
Um, Probably a top 5 sports player though in like all
Hmm.
sports movies, or should we say fictional sports athletes.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, he's just phenomenal. His character was great before he started to hit the tiger blood. I'm gonna throw a way back one at you.
That's Tiger Blood. Nice.
I'm gonna throw one way back at you. I think this is a '93 with John Candy. Feel the rhythm, feel the ride, give it up. It's bobsled time. Cool runnings.
Nice.
Yep,
Wow.
I love watching that movie. I think it's hilarious. Wonderful John Candy film. I think one of the last ones before he died. So,
It was.
and based on a true story, who I actually got to see when I went to Jamaica. It's like the only time I've ever traveled. We got to see the original Jamaican bobsled team crew there. It's kind of cool. So I have
cool.
that. I have that in my list as well. And for quotable references, I also have the movie Draft Day. I don't know why I like it so much. Most people probably don't like it because the trades are ridiculous, but the dialogue, the facial expressions, there's a lot that's it's a quotable thing. It's a quotable movie. So, Sandlot, Remember the Titans, Moneyball, Cool Runnings, Draft Day, honorable mention, Rudy.
Yes, I had that in my list as well. Yeah, another honorable mention. I mean, you could go with, um, you know, if you like pretty serious movies, you got like Raging Bull.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I thought
Rocky.
about that one.
You know, the original Rocky. Even Rocky 2 is pretty good.
Right.
Uh, Comedies, you got like Slapshot.
Slapshot's fantastic.
Um,
Goon's
and
actually
then,
very underrated.
yeah, how about even Happy Gilmore?
Happy Gilmore, I thought about that. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
did. I
yeah.
did. Yep.
I mean, the
That's a
fight that he
classic.
gets into with Bob Barker, that is the best. I love that scene.
So they're supposed to be coming out with the second one. I wonder if Drew Carey's going to be taking that role if
Oh,
they
that'd
incorporate
be
that,
so funny.
somehow.
Yeah,
Right? Just a little, maybe it'll tribute to Bob Barker by throwing in Drew Carey to, or is it an insult to have him replace him again?
I don't know. People would. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would
One of
complain about it.
one movie that's fantastic. These are the movies that I list. Are just movies like when I see on the TV, I'm gonna stop and watch them.
Yep.
Right. Some of the other ones, they're great. I might turn it on. I might have to be in the mood for them. Miracle's great. Not. I don't know. It's great, just not entirely for me. Maybe towards like the 10 rank for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just if I like hockey, it's got to be a comedy for me. Brian's Song is another fabulous movie, but it's emotional,
It's a tearjerker.
tearjerker. Yeah. Yep, it's considered one of the best ones by a lot of ranking sports movies places. But
one of my good buddies, it's one of his favorite movies.
And they had
But he's
remade
also
it too.
a diehard Bear fan. So
yeah, there's two of them. I think one with James Caan, and then there's a more recent one after the 2000s that was well done too. So yeah, that was pretty good.
As documentaries go, what about Hoop Dreams?
Hoop Dreams, it's up there.
That was good too. I always try to follow those kids. What was it, Arthur? I'm drawing a blank. I'm horrible with names. But
another one I'm just gonna throw into that. It's just kind of funny. Is Space Jam, the original?
Oh yeah,
it's just a good movie, right?
Yep.
Space Jam 2 with LeBron, not so good. The graphics were great, but the movie was just not.
Yeah, not really.
Didn't have the same vibe to it, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, that kind of does it for me, Gully.
I think that wraps it up for me as well.
Well,
I think it was
guys,
a good episode.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hopefully, we have some new and upcoming content. We'll give you some updates as to the basketball, maybe what's going on with the Twins world, and see how Royce Lewis does here in his first game back and
Yeah.
some games under his belt. And we'll broaden out from Minnesota at some point in time. I promise.
Yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
we're homeboys, so we gotta stick with home first, and we'll get out there. But once football season comes around, man, we're gonna be real busy.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So we'll
Yeah.
have a lot of
That's
content.
when we'll hit our wheelhouse. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Cool.
So.
Thanks, Gully, for coming on, guys. Also, be sure
Yep.
to check us out on. There's the TikTok Couch Coaches. There's the YouTube Couch Coaches.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Spotify, which you might be listening to right now, or you're watching us on one of the two, which is also Couch Coaches. Should be pretty easy to find us on any of those platforms.
Absolutely.
And give us a
And
comment,
on
give us a
YouTube,
like,
don't
give us a
forget
share.
to like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, show your mom, put it on your fridge, do whatever we want to get up there. All right.
Exactly.
All right, cool, man.
Take care, everybody.
Until then, we'll see you later, guys.
Yep.
Deuce.
Later.